Excellent.
Thank you, Carl.
Well done. Secretary of State Pompeo, thank you.
You go to European countries and they're keenly aware of the need to protect the private information of their citizens, their healthcare records, all of the things that none of us want out in the public space, and yet they're prepared to allow that information to transit across Chinese infrastructure. And I remind them, and this is an imperfect analogy, and I'm deeply aware of that, but none of us would have installed Soviet technology. Right? We would have never allowed our private citizens to work across that. This is technology that the Chinese Communist Party will have access to this information. How they'll get it, when they'll get it, how much of it they'll decide to have access to, we can all debate. But make no mistake about it, they'll have the capacity to get at this deeply personal information. It makes it harder. As someone who ran the Central Intelligence Agency for 18 months, if it's not done properly, the close information sharing relationships we have with these countries are potentially at risk.
Let's talk about cyber. As a leading member of the administration.
So we continue to be in conversation with them about convincing them that it is in the North Koreans' best interest to deliver on the commitment that Chairman Kim made now, 18 months ago in June of 2018. It's been slow. It's been 2 steps forward and a step or 2 back. I still remain hopeful that North Korea will make the right decision, not certainly the right decision for the world, but the right decision for the North Korean people as well. The weapon systems that they have do pose a real risk. America doesn't pose a security risk to the North Koreans. We want a brighter future for them. And if we can get the right arrangement, if we can get the sequence right, and we can have serious conversations about it, I still hold out hope that we can convince Chairman Kim to move away from the nuclear weapons as their great wall of protection, to think seriously about the right path forward for his people. I hope we have the launches that took place from North Korea, the short-range ballistic missiles that were launched over the past several months, certainly pose more of a risk to them than they do to anyone here in the West Coast or in the United States. I want to talk to them about how we're going to approach the next month, what the opportunities are for continued negotiation and conversations. I also want to make sure that we're all talking to China in the same way. The issue of North Korea is unlikely to be resolved without the Chinese government also weighing in, making very clear to the North Korean leadership that it is also the Chinese expectation that North Korea will denuclearize.
And how do you believe the administration should?
It is at the core of the Trump administration's belief that people all across the world yearn for freedom. And so when you see people marching at Qasem Soleimani's funeral, it is unlikely to be the case that a gentleman who had killed so many of their brothers and sisters would be someone that they would admire and love. And so you have to reconcile. Well, why are they there? The answer is you're sitting in an authoritarian space, and the resources of the state are dedicated to putting people in the streets. In the moments that followed, in the days that have followed, you've watched the Iranian people take to the streets with a very different message. And they have done so at enormous personal risk. And some of them, if history is any indicator, will be imprisoned and have imprisoned in Iran. But nonetheless, that desire for freedom, that seeking of knowing that the regime is fundamentally treating the Iranian people unfairly. I think most Iranian people know that. They have misunderstood people all across the world, whether they are Iraqi or Iranian. There's been an awful lot of focus on Russian interference in our election. Woe be it to the leaders who just simply think that it's Russia that's trying to have an impact on our elections. There are many actors who are actively involved, trying to figure out how they can impact America's elections, how they can exert influence, how they can mess with our system. And you all know this. If our system lacks integrity, if the American people don't have confidence that our leaders are duly elected, that presents an enormous risk to the American experiment. President Trump is committed to making sure that we do everything we can to never put America in that situation. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Thank you. Take my Niners cap.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much.